Let's see the scriptures from the Bible. Genesis chapter 50, verse 15 onwards we will read. Genesis chapter 50, from verse 15 to verse 21, let us read. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "Perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him." So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, 'Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father.' And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, 'Behold, we are your servants.' Joseph said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore do not be afraid, I will provide for you and your little ones.' And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them." Until verse 21 we read. If you go to Brazil, the president of Brazil, there's the President Lula. This time, once more, he became the president. This is his third term as the president. Brazil is a really big superpower country, right? So this Lula, the president, he's only passed from 4th standard. Means he didn't pass out from some top level university, and he didn't study political science, he didn't study anything. He's a very ignorant, illiterate, an illiterate man, a really worthless man. He is from one of the poorest classes of society, and there's nothing that he has learned. But now he's become the president for the 3rd time. There's a background how he was able to become the president for the 3rd time. Even about studies, he didn't have any academic qualifications, but what was the better university? He had his life, right? So he came out from that university. So there is a world of heart, or a world of the mind, with which he was able to become the president for the 3rd time. We can't see that with our eyes, but actually this person, why he lives happily and why he succeeded, it's actually because of what kind of a world of mind, world of heart this person had. How much he studied or how hard he studied, that is not important. Now this person, when he was in elementary school in the 4th year, his mother passed away. Before his mother passed away, when she had to leave her young son in this world, as she passed away, she felt so painful in her heart. It's not that she has so much possessions and she's giving him a good inheritance, but he's from one of the most backward classes, a very poor person, and he is someone who cannot study. who lived in very difficult circumstances. So this kind of a son, when she has to leave him in this dark world, the mother felt so painful. So that's why the mother, she was thinking, my son in this dark world, what kind of a heart he should live. She was thinking about that. So before she passed away, she called her son and she spoke her last words to him. She said, Anullah, from now you have to listen carefully to what your mother says. If you need to live and survive in this dark world, you need to listen to your mother. When I lived in this world, no matter what difficulties or problems come to you, just listen to what I say. So his mother spoke 3 phrases to him. These 3 phrases were what made this man, who was from one of the most backward classes, one of the most illiterate men, to become a president for 3 terms. So what was that voice of the mother? First was, it's okay. And the second was, it's gonna be fine. It's fine, it's gonna be fine. No matter what difficult problems you might face, you just remember these 3 words. Now, it's okay, it's fine, it's gonna be better. So, leaving these 3 words, the mother, she passed away. Now, he used to live by scavenging from the garbage, trying to get some bread. That's how he spent his childhood. So, eating the rotten bread that he was able to find. If they were normal children, what destiny, am I born to? Why do I have to live such a poor life? Why do I have to feel so difficult? What did my mother do? What sin did my father do? They've only given me poverty. Always looking at this world negatively, complaining, they would have lived. But this son, when he used to try to scavenge for some rotten bread in the marketplace garbage can, even though he was so hungry, even though it seemed to be so miserable, but I'm so hungry, I'm so miserable, unhappy, this is not what led his heart. But from then on, those voice that his mother spoke, that dragged his heart. It's okay, it's good, everything's gonna be fine. He did not have money, so from the garbage can, he's trying to get some rotten bread and eat it. But he kept saying to himself, it's okay, it's fine, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be better. And this way, he spent his young childhood. So, finally, when he was in the 4th year of elementary school, he got one job. But as he was doing that job, his finger got cut off. So when his finger got cut off, he was not even able to get compensation from the company, but instead the company kicked him out. So in his heart, he felt so angry and so sad and wronged. But these wronged and angry hearts, that is not what led the heart of Nola. But if it had happened like that, it would have just been a first level mind. But the voice of the mother, he started to remember. No, my mother, she said, it's okay, this is good, and it's gonna be better. Because my finger got cut off, I was not able to get compensation, and I was wronged, and I was kicked out. So, it became something that was okay, it became something that was a good work. So, it is something that is going to be better. At the age of 18, he met his wife and he was living with his wife. When his wife was 8 months pregnant, she was very sick. So he admitted her in the hospital, but he did not have money to admit her in the hospital. So from the hospital, they were kicked out because they didn't have money. So again, he tried to take his wife to another hospital. And he begged that other hospital, but even that hospital, they kicked them out because they had no money. So finally, the wife and his 8-month-old son, unborn son, they died. So, carrying the dead body of his wife, he was going to all the hospital doors and he was so sad and it hurt him so much. It hurt him so much and it was so painful that this world is so unfair. What is the point of living a life like this? He had so many complaints against the government. He wanted to burn the hospital down. Yes, he had all those kind of thoughts. However, there was not those kind of hearts which led the heart of Nola, because if that was true, he would not have become the president. Yes, on one side of his heart he had such thoughts, but on the other side, there was also the voice of his mother that said, "It's okay. This is something good. This is going to be better." So his wife, his 8 months pregnant wife, with their unborn child, because they don't have money for the hospital fees, she died. So when his wife and child died, imagine if pastor tells you, "It's okay, it's something very good, everything's going to be fine." Like that, if pastor comes and has fellowship with you, what kind of heart will you have? I think that pastor is mad. After the wife dies, the son dies, how can they say that this is a good thing? This is what he calls fellowship? Is this what he's calling counseling? Is he some mental patient? Like these kind of distressed hearts we'll have, right? But Nola, in this world, because he respected his mother the most, even though his wife died because he didn't have hospital fees, but he said, "No, my mother, she has said that this is good. She said that it's okay, this is something for good." So the mother's heart started to drag the heart of Nola. And after that, once more, he registered as a laborer, and as he was doing the union, he was working for the trade unions. At that time, he was put in jail. So inside of the jail also, he only listened to his mother's voice. "It's okay, it's something good, everything's gonna be fine." So in the heart of Nulla, in the life of Nulla, it was only good things, it was only things that were okay and things that were fine that happened, no matter what difficulty it was. And after he lived in prison and came out, so he applied for some volunteering and he was applied for a member of parliament, but he failed. But later, when he applied for the presidency candidacy, he was successful. So and he became the president. But as you become the president, it's not only good things, right? Many people criticize. There are many problems. But even as he was sitting in the position of president, he only heard his mom's voice. And after stopping the first time he was president, he still only heard his mother's voice. Even now, he only hears his mother's voice. It's okay. It was good. Everything's gonna be fine. And these 3 words of the mother made this man, who was from one of the worst backward classes in Brazil, or this man who was illiterate, it made this man to be the president's rise. So the truth, you want to live a good spiritual life, you want to live a happy life, right? But this truth is not something difficult, it's not something complicated, it's something very simple. When you receive salvation, when you don't know what is salvation, you go to church, try to wash your sins. I try to keep the law and I try to live a very good life. I struggled so hard. So spiritual life was very difficult, right? But later on, after I realized this gospel of salvation, there's nothing as easy as spiritual life. No, there was nothing as easy as spiritual life. Is there anyone who tried hard and received salvation? No, right? Salvation is so easy and so simple. It's a very simple truth. It's a truth that anyone can just accept simply. So that means life itself is not very difficult, it's very simple. But why is it so difficult? Why? Because I have the thought that I need to do something. That's when spiritual life becomes complicated. From then onwards, through a dark tunnel, we start to go. The thought that I have to do something when I have that thought. But the mother of Noah, she spoke these three phrases to him, and what are those three words? That is what made him become the president rise. What are these three words? It's okay, it's good, it's gonna be fine. If you always see these three words, there is hope that arises in the heart, and there is a voice of going forward, right? No, it's not possible, it's impossible, it's difficult. It's because I met the wrong parents, that's why I'm such a poor person. My mother and father, what did they do until now? At least they could have earned some money, Then I did not have to be so poor. There might be people who think like this. Yes, he also could have thought like that, right? Because we're free to think. How we think is free. So, however, these three words, no matter what kind of despair, no matter what kind of sorrow, what kind of pain, so no matter what despair, you fall into it. But from there, these words start to bring him out. So even though Noah had so many conditions to be disappointed and in despair, it's not that he didn't face things that were unfair. He faced so many incidents where he was wronged, where he was suffering. But those three words of his mother was able to fish him out from all those places where he felt wronged and unhappy. The voice of the mother did the work of changing his thoughts. Everyone, even Nullah's mother, Nullah's mother's three words have made one of the most men from the poorest backgrounds who is illiterate to become a president 3 times. But we have God who is the greatest in the world, who is almighty, who is all powerful. That is the God whom we serve and live. Noah, he respected his mother the most. That's why he was able to listen only to his mother's voice. We have the Lord of hosts. That is the God whom we believe, who has so much more authority than Noah's mother, thousands and millions of more times. His is the voice that we are listening to. In Hebrews chapter 10 verse 14, God, he says, I have perfected forever those who are being sanctified. God has perfected our entire lives. Everyone, then all of you, no matter what, even though you might meet some kind of difficult incident or some painful thing, or you felt wronged, no matter how miserable things you face, no, God has said that God has said that I am perfect. God has told me to rejoice always. This is something to rejoice. Even though I feel so wronged and so painful, but no, this is something to be happy for. In that way, if you speak and you go in that direction, from then onwards, happiness begins to be made. This is something to be happy for. In that way, when we start to change, those painful, suffering works, they all change into something to be thankful for and happy for. Let's see one scripture in the Bible. Second Kings chapter 18. First Kings chapter 18, verse 41. First Kings chapter 18, verse 41. Then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain." Verse 43. And said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." So he went up and looked and said, "There is nothing." And 7 times he said, "Go again." What this means is, for more than 3 years there was a famine in Israel. That's why Elijah tells the king Ahab, what does he say? "Go up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain." When you see in the entire creation, First Kings chapter 17, there is the Zarephath widow, right? And then there is the raven who feeds. The Zarephath widow, when she meets the servant of God, he tells her that last little bit flour is there, you make a small cake out of it and you give it to me, then the flour from your bin will never cease and the oil from your jar will never cease. God is having fellowship with us like this. So the Zarephath widow, after listening to those words, if those words, that is the truth, then quickly, you know, she has to go and make that small cake and bring it to him. Why? Because then only she will have unending supply of flour and oil. No. But if she doesn't believe those words, she'll feel like, what nonsense. This famine has been here for so many years. How I'll get unending flour and oil? He just wants to take away my bread from me. In that way, if she has distrust, she will not make that small cake for him, right? If so, then yes, with a little bit of flour she might eat with her son, but they both would have starved to death. As they would have starved to death, what would this Zarephath widow have spoken? I believe in God, but God never listened to my prayer, God never helped me. She would have said this. In this difficulty, He didn't save me. Like this, she would have spoken and she would have just died. But the Zarephath widow, she made it for the servant of God. And after that, she could see that the bin of flour and the jar of oil never ran out. So the servant of God, he said there is a sound of great abundance of rain. So he told his servants to go to the sea and check. So that servant went and looked, and the weather was so good, there was not even a drop of rain when the servant saw. So when Elijah asked, "How is it?" He said, "Oh, there's not even a drop of rain. The weather is so good." No, I can hear the sound of abundance of rain. It's raining so heavily. Go again. So he went 7 times again. When he went, still the weather was so good, right? Each time. But the seventh time when he went, I said, "God, a servant of God, man of God, there is a cloud which is as small as a man's hand rising out of the sea." What he's trying to say is that the weather is really good. So even though me respecting the servant of God, if I follow the servant of God, if I consider him to be big, then yes, the abundance of sound of rain is here. I need to prepare umbrella like this. They have to do, right? That is the same heart. But if they think, no, the weather is so good, there's not even a drop of rain. Why are they speaking like this? This means that you're wrong. So he was able to speak exactly what he saw. He was able to speak the truth. But when he went over there, except for that one small cloud, there's not even a drop of rain. The weather is so good. This is the truth. No, this is the fact, right? People call such people frank people. They call them honest people. But actually, this person, he is really not living spiritual life at all. He is going against God, he is rebelling against God. What is spiritual life? No matter how it looks to me, how is God looking at it? This is so important. I am always committing sin and living. When God sees me, he calls me righteous and he calls me holy, right? That is why we have received salvation. It is not, seeing how frank I am, how honest I am. No, it is speaking about what God is seeing. This is important. If you see in Exodus chapter 32, Moses, he went up to the Mount Sinai, but he was late in coming down. So the people, they put the gold in the fire and a golden calf came out. They put the golden calf in front of them and they said, "This is the God that brought us out of the land of Egypt." And they started to bow, dance, worship it. They made a big mess. Moses came down and he just threw the tablet of stone of the Ten Commandments and broke it. And after that, he judges the people of Israel. When he judges the people of Israel, do you know how he judges? He says, "Whoever is on the side of the Lord, come to me, come to my side." So they really went to the wilderness and they served idols. They lived like that, right? But when Moses said, "Whoever is on the side of the Lord, come to me," no one could come. Why? Because they did sin. But one strange tribe came, the Levites. They said, I'm on your side. And they stood on the side of the Lord. The other 11 tribes who were seeing that, what do you think they would have thought? Is he mad? I mean, they made the golden calf and they did the work. They did the work of, making the golden calf and making other people worship it. But when Moses asked whoever is on the side of the Lord, come to this side, then they only went out first. So all the other 11 tribes, they were thinking, they only caused this problem, they only made everything, but first they only are going to the side of the Lord. What liars! God is surely going to punish them like this, they were thinking. So when Moses saw the Levites running to his side, he was so happy. And he gives them swords and he says, kill all the others. So the people of the Levites, they killed around 3,000 other Israelites. What is this, right? It cannot be understood only. There is someone who committed sin. There is someone who did the most evil, but in the hands of such people, they put sword and then they told you kill other people. And then these Levites, what do you think they were speaking about the Levites, other people? Hey, why did you do you think that the Levites who were killing the other people would have scolded them, saying, "Oh, why did you worship that golden calf? Why did you disobey God?" And would they have killed? No, because if the reason for killing was that they had served the golden calf, then they themselves should die first. So they would never have spoken such a thing. But in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, you know what it says? Let's open Numbers, chapter 23. Numbers chapter 23, verse 20. Behold, I have received a command to bless. He is blessed, and I cannot reverse it. What this means is the king Balak, he showed the last part of the Israel tribes, right? Why? Because he's showing this to Balaam to curse them. So when we go to school in elementary or middle school, always on Monday, we used to all gather in the stadium or the sports field, and we used to have an assembly. Then we used to listen to what the principal says, and we would begin the whole week. Nowadays, they don't do the assembly anymore. When we gather in for the assembly, we'll gather like first A, B, C, second standard A, B, C, like this, right? Then when we gather, those who are shortest, they stand in front, and like that, they stand according to height wise. So at the very back, because the number of people are less, some sections of classes have 42, some have 50, some have 43, 47. So in the front, it's very like uniform and correct lines, but at the back, the lines are not exact and same. And at the back, always the people who don't listen, the people who don't care, those kind of kids, they stay at the back, right? So looking at them, people, they sigh and they think, will he even become a human being? So wherever you go, if you see the end part of the line, the end part of the line of the assembly, then it's always a big mess. It's always a big, very noisy, and it's never arranged. You can see that it's not arranged. So this king Balak, he took Balaam the prophet and he showed him the end part of the Israelites, and said, just curse them. So the prophet towards the Israel people, if he sighs about them and curses them and says bad things about them, then automatically that curse should come on them, right? Because he's a servant of God. That's why automatically he showed him the end part of Israel. But after seeing that end part, Balaam, he gets up and he says, in verse 19, you see what he says. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good? God is not a man that he should lie. God never speaks useless things. That's why once if he speaks his word, he will surely keep it. That is God. So that God, towards the 12 tribes of Israel, already even before they were born, from the waist of Abraham, God, he blessed the 12 tribes of Israel. And he already decided to bless the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why God, towards the people of Israel, he ordered this blessing towards them. Then that blessing which he has given, how can I turn it around? That is what he's trying to say. Now this prophet, the person who speaks what they see exactly is not a prophet. If they say exactly if they speak what they continuously see correctly, then he has to curse them. These Israel people, they're a big mess. They're useless. They are hopeless. Like this, he should have spoken about them. No. However, this prophet, the prophet is not someone who speaks what he sees, but a prophet is someone who speaks what God shows them. So some people who believe God, who are these people? What kind of people are the servants of God? When they see what they have seen exactly, they are the people who speak about what God has shown. They are the people of God, men of God. So Balaam, when he sees precisely in verse 20, he says, "Behold, I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, I cannot reverse it." 21. He has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. God, for the people of Israel, even before they were born, if it is us, we would have thought like, if he does something good, he will be blessed. If he does something bad, he will be cursed. So God, he's even before he ever saw the people of Israel, before they were even born, he decided that he will bless. So it cannot be reversed. God to the people of Israel, in order to bless them, he has already decided. I cannot turn back that blessing which God has given. So it says that he has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. God is not seeing the iniquity or the wickedness of the people of Israel. Then God towards Israel, towards the people of Israel, this is his heart. And this is also the same heart that he has towards you. So he has to curse, but there's no reason to curse. And what else it says is, verse 23. For there is no sorcery against Jacob, nor any divination against Israel. No matter how much he checks and he tries to find, there is no sorcery against Jacob, there is no divination against Israel. There is not even one reason for them to be cursed, this means. The people of Israel, not only is this the heart towards them, but the heart of God towards you is the same. Even though he wants to curse, but there's not even 1% reason to curse. So this prophet Balaam, he only speaks what God shows him. So the people of Levites, they did the work of making the golden calf. They did sin, but how were they able to stand first in front of God? How were they able to say, I'm on the side of the Lord? Because the Levites very precisely came to know about what is the heart of God. God is not someone who is cursing me because I've committed sin. He is not someone who blesses me because I do well. Whether I do well or not, God is someone who blesses me because he knew that exactly. The first itself he was able to run forward. However, the 10 tribes of Israel, what were they seeing? Until just before, we have done the works of going against God. We are people who don't have any conditions from the side of the Lord. And they were looking at themselves. That's why the Levites, they turned around and killed 3,000 people. Who did they kill? Those who were looking at their own image. These are the people who were killed. So it says over here that God does not see the iniquity of Jacob or the wickedness of Israel. Then why God is making this a problem? Why did you make the situation a problem? Why did you make your conditions a problem? No matter what situation or conditions you might have, God surely helps. But why are you still talking about the situation? Whether whether the incident or the problem is big or small, why are you considering about that? You are considering wrongly. That's why God, what He has shown, those who those who see that, they are the servants of God. They believe God. So the servant of Elijah, he went and looked towards the sea, but the weather was so good. So he came and said, weather is good. He was speaking the truth. He didn't lie, he was frank. He's a very sincere, frank man, honest man. Honest people cannot live spiritual life. That's why, okay? That's why honest people cannot live spiritual life. 1 plus 1 is 2. That exact, kind of calculation and some precise thing. When they think about such things, if some new calculation comes, with the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they fed to the 5,000 people. Then they cannot understand that even though God opens windows in heaven, how can such a thing be? Those who can see what God shows, that is a person who believes God. Then even in your life, like that President Nola, he is from one of the most poorest backgrounds. He ate rotten bread. His wife died when pregnant because she had no money to go to the hospital. How painful. Yes, it's painful, but but this President Nola, he says, my mother said it's okay. She said it's fine. She said it's gonna be fine. Why does he say that? Because he respects his mother. If so, then, no matter how many difficulties I faced, no matter how many painful things I faced, no matter how difficult things I faced, following that, there are people who are unhappy, there are people who are miserable, and people who are happy. So, but no matter how difficult or problematic or impossible situations you meet, that's why you're unhappy. It's not like that. It's because you're unable to see what God is seeing. Surely there is an abundance of rain. Servant of God is saying that, right? But servant cannot see that rain. That means you're wrong, he's trying to tell to the man of God. No matter how many painful circumstances I meet, no, God, he's saying that this is something to be happy for. If God says this is something to be happy for, then that painful incident work will become really happiness. When I meet so sad things, oh, I'm so sad, or according to what I see, according to my greed, if I speak, then I have to say that I'm sad. But no, this is something that I'm happy for. This is something to be happy about. Then that becomes something happy. Now, the servant of the man of God should come and say to the servant of God, it's raining, there's an abundance of rain. But he's unable to say those words. But later on, it really rains. Then who is actually wrong? That servant of Elijah is wrong, right? That's why the people who are happy, what kind of people are happy? Because always there is happy things and enjoyable things that happen. So that person, when something sad comes, they become sad. When something unhappy happens, they become unhappy. But what kind of person is truly happy? They are the people who see and believe what God shows them. Something sad has happened. No, God said this is something to be happy for. Misery came. No, this is something to be happy for. God said that this is happy. No. Everyone, even though he met great sadnesses and pain, now this is something to be thankful for. Then those those things will actually become something to be thankful for. That's why today, the story of Joseph, which we read, is also the same. Joseph had older brothers. Let's go back to our main scriptures. Genesis chapter 50. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. The older brothers of Joseph, they sold Joseph to Egyptian slave traders, and he became a slave of Potiphar. And as that happened, he was framed for attempt to rape and he was put in prison. He spent such painful times. The older brothers of Joseph, in Genesis chapter 45, they heard the testimony of Joseph and they were so shocked. Joseph, when we sold him to those slave traders in Egypt, at that time he became a slave and he became a slave of Potiphar, and she falsely blamed him for attempt to rape, and he had to go to jail because of that, and he lived in prison. When they heard all this, if it was them in Joseph's place, if it was them, Oh my god, if that was me, if my older brothers had made my life like that, I don't think I could forgive them. The older brothers, hmm, let's see, let's wait and see. I'll make you suffer. Gnashing his teeth together, he would have wanted revenge. How long do they think that I'll stay in prison? One day or the other, I will come out from prison. That day is coming. That day, this pain, this suffering, this torture that I have to face, I am going to make you suffer 100 times more. Gnashing his teeth together, being so wrathful and angry in the prison, Joseph would have spent his time like this. That is what the older brothers of Joseph thought. Why? Because that is what would happen if they were in the place of Joseph. That's why, how can he just forget all those things that they did to him which were wrong in just a moment? That is nonsense. So in Genesis chapter 45, let's open Genesis chapter 45. Verse 5. When Joseph met his older brothers, okay? But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. Joseph, what he says is, right now, Joseph, he believes the providence of God. No matter, even though was framed for attempt to rape by Potiphar's wife, I was put in prison, I lived a painful life. That is not important right now, but how is God seeing this? But God, He borrowed the hands of my older brothers and He sold me, made me to live in the prison, made me to meet the chief butler, and made me to become the governor. That's why when I became the governor, there are the 7 years of abundance and the food we saved. The entire world is starving. But to save my family members, God has made me the governor of Egypt beforehand in order to protect the lives of our family. The providence of God entered into the heart of Joseph. No matter how it seems to me, oh, I face some difficulties. My older brothers have sold me. They sold me. And that's how I was a slave. I was falsely framed for rape. Oh, I lived in prison. I'm not going to leave those brothers of mine alone. Normal human beings, this is how their hearts will flow, right? But from here, even though you want to solve this heart, it doesn't get solved. When your life is so twisted, it just does not get solved very easily. No matter how much we calculate, it just does not work out. I was already framed for attempt to rape. I was put in prison. Who is going to solve this problem in my heart? There is no calculation for that. No, there is no equal compensation for that. But when God was added to the equation, easily in the heart of Joseph, all the complaints went away and he was able to see how God works. So that's why everything became a blessing for him. If the evening tonight passes, surely morning comes, right? If Joseph goes to prison, that is not the end. If it finished by Joseph just staying in prison for his entire life, then he will feel so painful and angry at his brothers and gnashing his teeth, planning revenge. He would have been so difficult. But inside of the prison, that's not how it ended. Inside of the prison, when the chief butler, after he interpreted the dream of the chief butler, later on he was made to become the governor. Tonight passes by, tomorrow morning surely sun will rise. After the difficulty, surely blessing comes. That is like the formula which successful people use. That is the formula of people who believe God. After difficulty, surely there is blessing. That's why even though they meet difficulty, it's not difficult at all. Surely this will change into blessing. They believe that. But if they don't believe, then in their hearts always they feel so pained. I worked so hard and served God. Is that my only sin? My only sin is that I went to church too well. My only sin is that I received salvation. But why was I framed for attempted rape? Why is God not listening to my prayer? Why is He giving so many difficulties? Those who don't believe God, they're getting better lives. Why is it not getting solved? How is God seeing that hatred heart? It disappeared. Oh, is that so? Are my family members? In order to save them, God sent me here first. When he was able to see the providence of God, whatever he felt like he was wronged about, all of that easily just disappeared. As we stay inside of the church, sometimes we feel wronged. Oh, I suffered like this, someone framed me, I spent in prison. Thinking about that when we're just sitting over there. If someone asks you to testify, then you will talk about how you were hurt, how you felt bad. Those things don't just get solved. No, it doesn't just go down. You can't swallow it easily. So only when the providence of God comes, those things can go down. Even for years and years, people will cry and they'll remember that, right? In the Bible, it's not like that. There's even worse stories, right? David, he committed adultery and killed Uriah in the war, but he will still become the king. Tamar, she slept with her father-in-law to maintain the genealogy. That's like nonsense. Why would they do such things? They say life itself is like this. Life itself is like this. If so, then among the disciples of Jesus, there's Peter, there's Judas Iscariot. That Peter who followed Jesus so well, even though he's a disciple of Jesus, Judas sold Jesus for 30 silver coins. So if we are caught by our human thoughts, it does not get solved. Joseph in Genesis chapter 45, what he says is, you have sold me to this place, but do not be angry or grieve with yourselves because you didn't sell me here. God sent me before you to preserve the life of our family members. So he comforted them with these words. And the older brothers of Joseph, they have to listen to the words of Joseph in a big way. But without listening to that, what they say is, no, only in words he's like that. Why? Because they're not able to forgive. How do they think that in just one point of time, suddenly everything can be forgiven? It cannot be forgiven because they themselves also don't believe God. That's why in Genesis chapter 50, this verse 45, surely Joseph promised these older brothers. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 50, verse 15. And Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead. They said, perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. So they sent messengers to Joseph saying, before your father died, he commanded saying, father never gave this kind of command. They're lying, right? It's a lie. So they're trying to deceive Joseph. What they're saying, thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Why? Joseph's older brothers, 17 years have passed since they came to Egypt. Genesis chapter 47, verse 27, it says, so Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the father, Jacob, he died just now. So now after that, the new story starts in Genesis 50, right? For 17 years, you older brothers of Joseph, they were able to live a luxurious and big and good life. Why? Because of the brother Joseph. After 17 years passed, that is when the older brothers of Joseph actually expressed their true heart to Joseph. Joseph, before your father died, this is what he commanded. We hated you before, that's why we sold you to Egypt, so you had to spend time in prison. But now you please forgive that iniquity and that sin. God, your father has spoken this. And then he passed away. So when Joseph heard that, he was so pained in his heart. Why? It's been 17 years, right? Older brothers, why are you saying this now? Now, why are you coming and saying this to me? 17 years have passed. For 17 years, how have you been living then? In those palatial houses, living all luxurious life. What were you thinking? This Joseph, he's such a deceiver. He wants to feed us nicely to kill us one day. He's very cold, he's very cruel. One day he's planning on killing us. That's why he's trying to make us live like this luxurious life and deceive us. Everything seemed to be crooked to them. When Joseph saw the older brothers, he wants them to live happily, he wants them to eat, drink, so he made everything for them. But the older brothers of Joseph did not accept what he has done like that. No, 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 he's only speaking such things in words, he wants to kill us soon. So when we're very happy and we become neglectful, that time he wants to kill us. That's why he's doing all this. Everything seems to be very crooked to them. That's why this good food, even though it comes, they don't know whether it's going in their mouth or in their nose. Even though they have good houses, palatial houses, they're not happy at all. Even though they receive salvation, they're not happy at all. They're not thankful at all. Why is that? Why? Because the older brothers are Joseph surely in Genesis chapter 45. He made a promise to them, but they don't believe that promise. Joseph made everything for them so that they can live a life like a dream, being happy, but they could not even enjoy one single thing. God towards us every single day, He has made everything for us to live happily, but we are not able to enjoy even one. For such kind of people, this story was written just in case some people are there over here like that. The Lord does not see the iniquity of Jacob, He does not see the wickedness of Israel. There is no one who can blame. In that way, Jesus came 2000 years ago, washed away all of our sins, made us righteous, and made us able to go to the kingdom of heaven. Joseph, for his older brothers, he has made such a way that everything can be enjoyed. Everything was made, but no, it's not so. I don't have any assurance of salvation. No, I'm a sinner. No, I don't have any confidence. Even though Joseph gave them all things, but they can't enjoy. So they want to sell shit and they want to make rice. That is, actually, if you sell shit which is valueless and make rice, that is good. But if you sell rice and make shit that is useless, no. So now they're not able to really enjoy anything. They're feeling it's impossible. I don't have the assurance of salvation. I feel like I'll go to hell. I've committed a lot of sin. All these things in Genesis chapter 45, everything's already been forgiven. But why are they suffering so much pain? Joseph, he promised, but not believing that promise. They are just dragged by the situation. That is why in this world there are two different kinds of people. There are those who are dragged by the word of God, And there are those who become the servants of the situation and live. To those who become the servants of the situation, it's so difficult when he becomes caught because of Potiphar's wife wrong accusation. He would have felt so wronged and so hurt. But if those older brothers are led by the word, by the promise, it is not like that. Our God has sent me over here in order to protect and preserve life beforehand, before all of you. That way, when the heart of Joseph comes into the hearts of the brothers, that promise guides them. Then, for 17 years, how happy would they have been? As though they were dreaming. Oh, I'm so thankful for this place of Joseph. I'm so happy. The providence of God is so amazing. They could have lived so happily together with Joseph. Surely he spoke and surely he promised, but they were thinking, no, he's just speaking. He's not meaning those words. So even though all freedom was given to them, they were not able to enjoy single freedom. God has given to us the enough power in order to be able to change the world, but we're not able to enjoy that even once. Every single day, we have been made in such a way that we can spend times that are like a dream, so happy. But to those who don't believe the promise, they cannot enjoy that. Always being dragged by the situation. Being the servant of the situation, they live. When the people who are dragged by the word of God, there are two different kinds of people. Those who are led by the word of God, it's not that they're happy because there's no difficulty, no problem. They have like mountain only problems, but they're living a very happy life. God, He has said that this is something good. God has said that this is something to be happy for. God, He has told us that He has promised us that He's perfected us. God, He has said that this is something to be thankful for. No matter what kind of curse comes, no, there's something to be thankful for. There's something to be happy. In that case, then that unhappiness, it changes into happiness. Surely, even though there is no rain, they have to say, it will rain, it rains. When their heart becomes one with God, it rains. Yes, there are so many painful things, there are so many mountain like difficulties, but no, there's something very happy, there's very thankful. Who can change it like that? My mother said this is okay. My mother said that this is for good. More than that, mother of Nola, we have a God who has thousands of millions of times more power, and we're listening to his voice. For by one sacrifice, by one offering, he has perfected forever those who are being sanctified. No matter how many evil I've done and how I've lived, but no, God has perfected me. God said that he will no longer remember my sins and iniquities. God said that he will not remember, he will not see the iniquity of Jacob or consider the wickedness of Israel. And no matter what you do, what mistake you do, God surely helps. The people who are bound by the image of themselves. How can we stand on the side of the God? What condition do we have? We cannot do like that. Or we, live by against God, serving the golden calf. We don't have the condition to stand in front of God. No, we cannot go to that side. But God said, I will not see the iniquity of Jacob. I will not see the wickedness of Israel. Why? Because for God, the people of Israel, He really, really loves them. The parent loves the child. That's why the child, no matter what they do wrong, no matter what bad things they do, but in the eyes of the parent, they cannot see that iniquity of the child. My mother was like that. Her son was committing so many crimes, but she kept saying, no, no, my Kisang, he didn't do anything wrong. He just met bad friends. That's a problem. They cannot see the problems of their child. So God, for us, towards us, His eyes are like jaundiced. He cannot see. what is iniquity, what is problem. No matter what difficulty comes, God, He only has a plan to help us. No matter what problems we face, no matter what kind of problems or iniquities we have, God already has a plan to save us from that. That God is together with us then. No matter what kind of problem we face, do you think it'll be a problem? No, right? No, God surely helps us. It's better that let me just go inside that hot furnace. Why? Because if I go inside, who is more hurt? It's a father, right? Not the son. Because they say, hey, you punk, and then they have to save me from there, right? So when difficulties come, don't be afraid. Very boldly, strongly, you have to just jump into it. If so, then God, surely from there, He prepares a way for us to escape and He's waiting. Our God, this is how He's protecting us. Our God, this is how He loves me. We can feel that. That's why God to us, He has given us a world camp now, right? The world camp to many people who are in the city of Busan, they can come and they will receive salvation, listening to the gospel. That's the will of God. So pouring your hearts in every region. One bus, okay? One bus every day will come like this we have prepared. Will it work or will it not work? Those who don't reply at the back over there, those kind of people, who don't reply, if you leave them alone, they'll go to jail, it seems. Because they're the people who live as they wish. So we shouldn't send them to prison, no? So will it happen or not happen? Yes. So let's try doing it, right? Many people, if they come and receive salvation, it's so great, no? Because it is the will of God to save them. That's why God will give us money. Whatever you need, God is having the plan to provide everything for you, supply everything to you. So don't only think about the problem, but God says, what does He say? All that is mine is yours, right? God, towards the gospel, He wants to do so many works. From that time onwards, everything will be provided by God. So even though it is not raining at all, if we say it's raining, then it'll rain. You understand? So that's why this year, this world camp, through the world camp and through the retreat, I hope many people will receive salvation. I hope this will happen. So today I will preach until here. Thank you.